Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video of Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Vayne updated complete guide, of course, for the latest patch. Now Vayne is not really in the best spots now, but definitely you can find opportunities to play her. But before we get into explaining the loadout, of course, as usual, don't forget to check out her basic guide that I'll link up in the cards above for her skills, leveling order tips and tricks, as well as a couple of combos. But with that said, now let's talk about what you should build on her. So if you guys take a look at the top players right now, you will see that what's very popular now is going for a Vayne crit build with a Triforce in the middle. Right, the last two items have variations, but the first couple items are basically always going to be the same. So we're going to first start with the Gluttonous Greaves for the AD and the Omnivamp. Now you do lose out on a little bit of damage in the early game because you don't get the attack speed from the Berserker's Greaves, but what you do get is the Omnivamp, which does also work, of course, on your true damage because it's Omnivamp. And what you realize is that you don't actually have any lifesteal from any of your items until you reach Bloodthirster. So this Gluttonous Greaves is actually really important, whereas you do get a lot of attack speed from all your items. So first item we're going to go for is Stormrazor. Now Stormrazor, a little bit of attack speed, a little bit of AD. Of course, you get that. You get the passive where you deal bonus damage as well as slowing someone down and giving yourself more movement speed. Of course, movement speed difference is always going to be great, and the extra burst damage is very helpful, especially against squishy targets. So this kind of helps Vayne deal with the squishy targets as well, when Vayne is normally very good against tanks only. So to combo with that, we get the Blaster. Blaster, of course, gives you bonus range, which allows you to poke with a tumble auto, for example, as well as, very importantly, giving Vayne wave clear. Now, one of Vayne's biggest weaknesses is the fact that she's single target and she can only really hit one minion at one time. So getting the Blaster with Stormrazor combo allows her to attack the wave all in a single time and helps her wave clear out tremendously. So this is very helpful for Vayne. Then in the middle, you interrupt your crit with a Triforce. Now, why do you do this? Well, basically, all of Triforce's stats are things you want, right? 250 max health helps you be more tanky. A little bit of AD, a little bit of attack speed, obviously stats you want. 25 ability haste, also very useful, just in general to get your abilities out more often. And the Spellblade passive you can proc very easily, very often, because you always Q auto majority of the time. So finally, for your last two items, this is your first option, which is to go BT into IE. So BT, at this point you have all you have 3 attack speed items already here. And then at this point you can start going into non-attack speed items. So you have Bloodthirster, which just gives you a ton of AD, as well as, of course, giving you the bonus stats when you're high on health, and Physical Vamp, which is very important because we don't have any of that at the moment. Then you have IE, just at this point 100% crit, so it just gives you more AD and gives you more crit damage. So if you hit this point in the game, pretty much you're fully skilled into late game and you can demolish people. However, the other options you have are items like Terminus, which you can go for, which of course gives you the stacking defenses as well as the stacking penetration, also giving you relatively good stats. Now you can also go for defensive items like Twin Guard, or tank shredding items like Blade of the Rune King and Wits End, the on-hit items at the last 2 slots. So it's kind of flexible depending on what you prefer, also depending on the opponents you are facing in that game. So Rune's pretty straightforward, standard ADC loadout, lethal tempo for attack speed and range, brutal because you auto attack a lot, giant sword to deal with the tanks, alacrity for more attack speed, more DPS, and bone plating for the defensive capabilities. And then we also have Flash as your summoner spell, together with Cleanse, of course, if you need that for the CC. Otherwise, Ghost is going to be Vayne's best summoner spell, just giving her more movement speed to just kind of kite around fights. Of course, Barrier and Exhaust work as well. I'm going to link you guys a video up in the cards right now on a ADC summoner spell guide if you guys want to learn more about that. But with all that said, let's move on to talking about the gameplay. Alright, so now let's move on to the gameplay section. Now, of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Of course, I'll be sure to address them or drop a like. So, getting straight into it, obviously, you guys kind of know what I'm going to say, roughly, if you guys have been watching my Vayne videos over the years, which is basically that Vayne has been in a bad spot for a very long time already, because Vayne doesn't have a lot of strengths, but she does have a lot of weaknesses. Now, one of the weaknesses is that she's single target. She doesn't have very strong wave clear. Of course, that is partially fixed by Manic Blaster, but she doesn't have any AoE abilities. All her abilities are single target. You have basically her Q, which is just a dash. You have your W, which is just attack speed and lifesteal boost. You have your Condemn, which is basically just a single target knockback that can stun, and then you have your ulti, which boosts your AD as well as your movement speed and giving you invisibility. But basically, all of Vayne's damage just purely comes from auto attack. So she's just a pure auto attack based ADC with like almost no abilities that even do damage aside from her E. Right, so she is very single target, doesn't really deal with waves very well, doesn't really deal with enemies very well. She has relatively short range, considering that her range is just her auto attack range. And you do have champions with Varus that, for example, Varus has the same range as Vayne, but his E and his Q has longer range than his auto, so he does have longer effective range. Right, so here we get into kind of an all-in onto the Blitzcrank, who's very far overextended. We flash forward, get hooked by the Blitzcrank, unfortunately under the tower, take a tower shot, and then we just straight up, just take a tower shot, and we're gonna die to Caitlyn, so we don't survive there. So overall, a trade, 1-for-2 trade, not the best trade in the world, right? So the Vayne also is pretty weak in lane, right? So this is one of the weaknesses, another one of the weaknesses of Vayne, right? So Vayne doesn't have many winning matchups at all. Like in lane, basically against champions who have high range like Ashe, Caitlyn, Senna, you're basically just going to get poked and you're basically going to destroy. Jinx is another one. And then against aggressive champions like Lucian, like Draven, you cannot really kind of step up, right? And then even against scaling champions like Zeri or Jinx or champions like these, as Rammus comes in for a gank and we score a kill onto Caitlyn, even against champions like these, it's like basically they're stronger than you. So Zeri, for example, gets free scaling because you can never really kill her and she can just poke you with her Q and scale for free into the late game. So she really barely has any good matchup. So overall, she's just not very good, right? The only real strength she has is dealing with the tanks, right? So that's kind of why I always mention that you never really want to play Vayne unless the enemy team is very tanky. Now, in this specific circumstance, the enemy team is decently tanky. They do have Darius, Vi, as well as Blitzcrank, but you will see very, very soon that I severely regret the Vayne pick in this particular game. And the main reason for that is because Vayne has no counterplay against certain champions like Vi, right? I mean, Vi is a champion that counters a lot of ADC because she has a lot of point and click, not a lot, but she has point and click CC on her ultimate, and when she locks you down with the ultimate, you basically can't really do very much as a lot of ADCs, and Vayne is kind of one of them, right? The only thing you can really do is try to go invis and hope she ults someone else while you're in invis, but if the Vi player plays well, that's not actually going to happen. Speaking of Vi, she appears with a ulti, and here we're taking out both Caitlyn and Blitzcrank, so we are able to kill both of them before Vi comes over, cleans up the 2 kills. So overall, it's a clean 2-for-2 trade, but with respect that we did get ganked. Trading 2-for-2 is not really the worst in the world, since they did take 3 people to kill 2 of us, whereas we killed 2 of them with only 2 people. However, we do end up giving Vi our shutdown, right? Because we did get a relatively big bounty just from accumulating some kills. So overall, not really the worst start to the game. It's a pretty good start. We actually have a really decent amount of gold right now. We have 5 kills in 4 minutes. So it's, despite the 2 deaths, it's actually going really, really well. So Blitzcrank kind of making the same mistake again of just walking up, and we're just getting free autos on him. And honestly, this is not how this lane really supposed to go, right? A Caitlyn Blitzcrank lane should be bullying us a lot, but they're not. So here we basically sidestep. Not sidestep, but walk out of the Victor's gravity field. We're absolutely golden. Leona somehow survives. Rammus now goes in for the Caitlyn, taunts her. We take her out. Condemn onto the wall on Victor, and Victor gets taken out as well. And now we're 7-2 with the most gold in the game. So this is a kind of a dream start for Vayne, who normally has an incredibly weak laning phase, but as I mentioned, the enemy team has screwed up multiple times and gave us kills, leading us to complete our Stormraiser already less than 5 minutes into the game. So, as I said, normally Vayne has a very weak early game, but Caitlyn and Blitzcrank have been playing it so badly that we've basically been able to farm them for gold, right? And how and why are they playing badly? Well, basically, the way that Caitlyn and Blitzcrank should be playing the lane is Caitlyn should be spam auto-attacking me and poking me, forcing me under tower and forcing me off the wave, right? And Blitzcrank should then be in a position where he has his hook ready and ready to go. And if I misstep or I tumble, and then he can just hook me, right? But in this case, what Blitzcrank is doing is he's walking up to me for no reason, not trying to really hook me, but instead just taking free damage from me, allowing me to not only deal free damage to him, but also allowing me to stack up my lethal tempo if a longer fight breaks out later on. And secondly, Caitlyn is not doing her job of poking me whatsoever, so she's not putting any kind of significant pressure onto me whatsoever. She's not trying to do any damage to me, she's just letting me farm for free. So really the only reason why I'm doing so well is because the enemy team is playing, enemy bot lane in particular is playing suboptimally, to put it lightly, right? So you should never really be allowing Vayne to be farming like this and even killing you, right? So if Caitlyn is honestly one of Vayne's worst matchups because she can't really do anything to Caitlyn, right? So if I was the Caitlyn, I would be destroying this Vayne right now. Like I don't know if Vayne would have been able to kill me, but definitely I definitely would have bullied the Vayne to like half HP every single time and make it very, very difficult for her to get any minions and anything like that. So yeah, the Caitlyn's not doing a very good job. So here you can see our recall got cancelled a couple of times. Now honestly, I don't actually need to recall, but Leona does need to get a reset, seeing as she hasn't been able to reset for a very long while, which is kind of why I'm just channeling recall with her. But the enemy team is kind of stopping her. Leona actually gets hooked in. Here, Victor and Vi both coming for a gang. Leona essentially just gets one shot here. Blitzcrank for some reason is just running straight into the tower, just dies. Victor tanks the tower next, he dies. Caitlyn now tanking the tower, she dies, and now Vi is the last one standing. She manages to kill me before she dies, but with Rammus and Lux on the chase, Rammus with the Q flash taunts the Vi. Vi cannot really run anywhere, gets killed, and yeah, honestly pretty clean fight from my team. Really, really horrible dive by the enemy team. Basically it's more so of the enemy team screwing up and kind of inting than us really doing anything spectacular. But either way, that's kind of been the story of this game so far. The bot lane have kind of not really been doing too hot, and they've kind of been giving us a lot of kills for free. So yeah, here I'm very, very close to getting my Magnetic Blaster, so I'm actually farming this Gromp and letting Rammus deal with the wave up there, which he has been just doing regardless. So now I'm going to pick up my Magnetic Blaster, getting the double energized item combo, and now I'm going to Hex Gate once again back to the lane. The Hex Gate cooldown is so insanely low, by the way. We took the Grom and then we recall and we can take the Hex Gate once again. So here now with the extra range from the blaster, we can actually use our range to actually poke Caitlyn. So here's what we're going to do. Tumble forward, auto. Caitlyn takes a little bit of poke, loses almost a quarter of her HP. Now here we poke her again. Now we're walking up. Now just getting free hits onto the Blitzcrank, hitting the Caitlyn. Insane prediction by the Leona. Darius misses the hook. We are now just trying to escape. We're getting a lot of CC thrown onto us, but we are able to generally escape. Now here, we are able to condemn Victor into the wall, but he pops the QSS. Vi ults me into the Darius ult, and once again we're taken out. Now I believe not all four, but 3 out of 4 of our deaths were a result of Vi like ulting us, and one of them of course was the first death in the lane because we got hooked into tower and tanked a tower shot. So really, Vi is kind of unplayable with Vayne. Definitely was a mistake to draft Vayne in this circumstance. Yes, Vi is tanky, and yes, Vayne can kind of kill and shred Vi, but it's not really going to work if Vi kills you before you can really do anything to her, right? So that's very kind of suboptimal by me. Definitely should not have been, playing against this Vi. Right? So here you see Caitlyn pops the cleanse because the slow and the speed up from my Stormrazor could allow me to possibly run her down, especially with my passive and my ult as well. So she does preemptively just pop the Stormrazor just to ensure she doesn't get run down. Not pop the Stormrazor, pop the cleanse. But this means that she doesn't actually have cleanse now, and with Leona as well as Rammus just jumping in, she gets just chain CC'd, completely destroyed. Life of an ADC, I guess. And we get this tower for free. Now Darius, Blitzcrank, and Vi are all coming. Vi basically just goes on top of me, just one-shots me basically. I'm trying to get out of the way. It's not happening, and now my whole team is in trouble. Leona in the back line, and Rammus getting run down by Darius, who now has full stacks onto his ulti, but doesn't actually have ulti. ends up tanking many tower shots, dies to the tower. Blitzcrank now tanking, Blitzcrank nearly dying to the tower. Victor with a random E that's not even close to hitting. And yeah, somehow the tower is fine and Rammus is also fine. The enemy team is just mucking about once again. So here, I'm actually saving the Hex Gate for people who are spawning after me, like Leona, but I think I maybe should just take in the Hex Gate because I'm getting here really, really slow. Leona, though, is kind of catching up here because I left her the Hex Gate. And here we're just getting zoned away by the Victor ulti. We don't want to walk into that one for free because that ulti is gonna, do a little bit of damage. So yeah, Blitzcrank is trying to do the Skull Crab for some reason, gets caught by Leona instead, gets condemned into the wall, and just gets killed. It's a freebie, basically, for us. And now we're just gonna go back to farming the wave and trying to hit our item breakpoints. Obviously, needless to say, Vayne is a very item-dependent champion. Every item is going to be a major breakpoint for the game, and that's definitely what we want to be looking at. So at this point, I'm very close to getting my Triforce. With the farming of this enemy Krug, I think that should be enough, so we are able to have enough gold for that, and we are just going to reset and get our Triforce. Now here Darius is getting 3-man ganked at the moment. Our help is not really needed. However, the Baron is spawning, so we do want to generally stay in the bottom area of the map. Multiple enemies are kind of showing up. Leona is going in onto the Victor. Victor cleanses it, but I am able to, of course, take him out with the help of my condemn and just tumbling and autoing him. So here, something very important is that I ulted there and then I pressed Q to get myself invisibility, so Vi couldn't actually see where I was, and then I repositioned to a place where I can start DPSing again. And now we're in a 4v2. Vi goes in 1v4 into our team. The Caitlyn gets engaged on, Vi dies, and Caitlyn dies as well. So here we end up getting the tower, and things are going pretty well at the moment. You can see in terms of gold, my team is actually 5k gold ahead, with myself actually having a 4k gold lead on Caitlyn. But of course, this generally means that I'm majority of my team's gold lead, with the rest of the gold lead basically being on Leona. And yeah, I mean, we also have a slight lead in the mid lane. However, Vi has a huge lead over Rammus, mostly because, of course, as I've been saying, Vi is hardcore carrying the game, and we're having a lot of trouble dealing with her as Vayne. So we are definitely not having a good time. Here, on the way down, I'm just quickly farming this Skull Crab, also to just get vision of the area, and then running back to my jungle. So here, it's a very interesting scenario. You can see Caitlyn and Vi in the top lane. I'm just casually farming my Grom. Then you see the other 3 members starting a fight over there. So I'm trying my best to make it to the fight. Now, unfortunately here, Vi once again goes onto me. I tried to condemn her, but she goes unstoppable with the ult. I pretty much have no escape here. I'm just trying my best to kind of kite towards my team. My team is not interested in helping me whatsoever. Instead, they're dying to the Vi as well. Like, Lux just goes down onto the Vi, and now we are only left with the 2 tanks as well as Rumble. Rumble not doing the best at the moment, but he is actually doing decent right now. He's 3-3-3 with 2 complete items, so he's doing decent. Not fed definitely, but not like feeding either, right? So he's doing alright. And now we have only Rumble and Rammus left alive, with 3 members of the enemy team alive and Baron up. Obviously the enemy team is not very likely to do Baron, so nothing too much is really happening here at the moment. The next dragon is coming up in 40 seconds though, and I think that's probably going to be a point of contention for both teams. So here, Dragon and Baron are both coming up, but or rather Baron is already up and Dragon's coming up, but look at this huge wave in bot, right? If I don't deal with this wave, it's gonna probably take this tier 2 tower. However, my team doesn't really realize that, so no one actually comes here to clear, and instead they're starting a fight in mid. Someone is actually back pinging me from the wave, which is insane, because if I don't clear that wave, not only do we lose our gold, but we also probably lose our tower. So here, my team is already in a full-on fight with the enemy team. No one is really died yet. I'm coming in with my ulti and just blasting the first target, which is Vi. Vi survives. Now I'm blasting Darius, condemn him into the wall, into the Lux root, and then we kill the Darius. Now here I'm just trying to one-shot the Caitlyn, almost do so. I flash over, kill her. Now I'm going on to the Vi, just killing her as well. And now here Victor, I tried to kill him, but he flashes away. And we end up getting stunned under the tower, popping the cleanse very, very late, because honestly I didn't think I needed it, but then I started to get worried about another tower shot that might kill me, so I decided to just cleanse and walk away just to be safe. So here now my team is doing the dragon, which honestly is not really worth anything because both teams already have one dragon, so it's not going to be sold for either team. And I think probably the better play would be to actually get Baron instead of dragon here. But, you know, with people's obsession over Dragon, you know that rarely ever do teams go for Baron over Dragon. Here once again, I'm back bot lane just to farm it up and just to push the lane out. I believe the waves are going to collide in the middle now, just from myself pushing out the wave. And once again, just hit it back there just to farm it up again. Now we're already at 4 full items. We're incredibly strong in the game. 16k gold, the most gold in the game. Now here is where I make a mistake, right? Here I tumble in going for the Darius, but I'm not actually sure where the Vi is at. Now Vi comes out of nowhere, shows up from behind, one-shots me, and with me gone from the fight, my team doesn't have the damage to really win it, right? Rumble and Lux, they're not really doing a lot of damage, right? You can see that they're a decent amount of gold behind me, and they're not really doing very much. You can see here it's not really working out for my team. Lux is dead, Rumble is about to die, and Rammus is running out of there. Only he is left alive, with the enemy team now doing Baron. Now Rammus is of course our jungler, so if it's anyone to be alive, it's kind of good that it's him. He is throwing his control ward in and everything, hitting the plan just to check on the stairs. He's obviously looking for a steal. It gets low and he flashes over way too late. Makes him look stupid a little bit, and he just basically flashes in to die to the entire enemy team. And the problem with this death is that now the Elder Dragon is coming up in 30 seconds and he has a 43-second death timer. Now this means that the enemy team will have 13 seconds to burst down the Elder Dragon before he even arrives. And if you take into account the time that Rammus takes to roll to the Elder Dragon, they probably have, somewhere closer to like a 18 to 20 second or so window to just blast the Elder Dragon before Rammus, shows up. So that's definitely a very bad deal for Rammus to just flash in there and take the Baron. Although I do kind of understand the logic, which is that obviously, Baron is very important, and if he could steal it, that would of course turn the game. Now here, obviously, needless to say, enemy team is doing the Elder Dragon. Rammus is still yet to respawn. He's only just respawned now. He's trying to probably make his way here. Meanwhile, we're kind of getting zoned off by the Victor mainly. And here we have a small window to just go in here. Unfortunately, the Elder Dragon gets taken. Now, we do get the kill on Caitlyn. However, with the Elder Dragon up, it's going to be very problematic. Vi goes on me. I condemn her into the wall. I'm just trying to kite her out. And I pop the stasis here, trying to wait for my spells. I condemn for the invis, flash over the wall, and try to run off to safety. However, my entire team is dead, right? So it doesn't really matter that I've gone to safety because I don't really think I can clear Baron waves by myself, even with the Magnetic Blaster. So I kind of think I'm screwed at this moment, right? There's not a lot I can really do here. So I'm just going to go to the base and regain some health. Then I'm going to have to come out to kill the minions, but instead I just get ulted by Vi, one shot by everybody, and unfortunately this game is going to be a loss. So we take a big L here, but I think we still showed how Vayne can be really good in the current meta. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.